This video is for lesson number 6 in chapter 10 for geometry, and we are going to learn how to complete the square to change the equation of a circle into standard form. So before we get to the first example of working with a circle, we're just going to review how to complete the square. You should have practiced this on the last couple homework assignments, but if you haven't, we're going to start from the beginning here. So the concept is that we want this to factor into two factors that are identical, something squared. And so even though it seems like I don't have enough pieces here for figuring out this diamond, since I have a negative 8x here, I know that that can go on the bottom. And then because I know that I want the two factors at the end to be exactly the same, then I know that these have to be exactly the same. So these two values have to combine to negative 8x, and they have to be equal to each other. So negative 4x combined with negative 4x gives negative 8x. And then if you multiply those, you get positive 16x squared. Then you can put the 16 here. You don't need to put the x squared here because remember you get the top of the diamond by multiplying the x squared times the 16. So then from there I can factor as normal. Taking the negative 4x and the negative 4x and putting them in the middle, and then factoring out the greatest common term. And then I get x minus 4 times x minus 4, which was my goal, so that I could get x minus 4 quantity squared. We call this type of trinomial a perfect square because these come out to be exactly the same. So we're going to try this one also. If you want to pause the video and see if you can do it yourself, that would be a really good idea. So the 14y goes on the bottom. The sides are both 7y because 7 plus 7 is 14, and the top is 49y squared, with a 49 going in the blank. Then to factor that, I'll just do y squared plus 7y plus 7y plus 49, and y parenthesis y plus 7 plus 7y plus 7 is y plus 7 times y plus 7, which is y plus 7 squared. Alright, so that's a little warm up to make sure that you know how to complete the square. The idea is that you figure out what goes in this blank so that when you factor this expression, you end up with y plus 7 quantity squared. Alright, so this equation is a circle, and I'm going to try to find the center and the radius by rewriting it in the form that we've been graphing circles in. Remember that if a circle is in the form x minus h squared plus y minus k squared, sorry about that, equals r squared, then the center is at hk and the radius is r. So we are going to try to take this equation and change it into this form by completing the square so that the two equations are equal to each other, but this is not in a form where I can see the center and the radius. So it needs some algebra, help from algebra to get it into a form where I'll know what the center and the radius are. So we start by taking the x squared and the 8x term and putting them over together here with a blank for completing the square. And then the y squared and the 14y are right here with a blank for completing the square. The 29 got subtracted from both sides, and so it ends up over here. And then the reason that these blanks are here, these extra ones, is to keep the equation valid. And I'll show you what I mean by that. So I happen to pick the same, we need these two problems, 1a and b, to do this part of the problem here. So if x squared minus 8x plus blank were this problem, then I know that if I had a negative 8x in the bottom of the diamond, that the blank needs to have a 16 in it. And then because this is an equation, not just an expression, in order to keep the equation true, if I add 16 to this side, I need to add 16 to this side. Otherwise, I would change the solutions to the equation, or the graph of the circle would change if I didn't do the same thing to both sides. And then for the pink one, I need this problem. So since this is a 14y, if I put a 14y in the bottom of the diamond, I'd take half of it to get the sides, and I would square it to get the top. So this has to be 49. And if I add 49 to this side, I have to add 49 to this side. All right, so when I change x squared minus 8x plus 16 into factored form, I need to show these steps, or at least most of you need to show these steps, but you probably want to start doing that on scratch paper for this particular problem. Otherwise it gets too long and it fills up too much of a workspace. So since we just did these ones right here, I could write x squared minus 4x plus 16, factor, factor, and then I would get to x minus 4 squared. And what would I get to with the y squared plus 14y plus 49? I would get to y plus 7 squared. And then this side, I just need to combine all three of these numbers, negative 29 plus 16 plus 49, and when I do that, I end up getting 36. And so now I can see what the center and the radius are for the circle. The center is positive 4, and the y value for the x and the y value is negative 7. Remember that the center value is opposite of what this shift seems like it should be. So if this is x minus 4, the center will be positive 4, y plus 7, the center will be negative 7, and the radius is 6, because this represents r squared equaling 36. So r equals 6. So then to graph that circle, I'll just plot the point over 4 down 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And go left and right and up and down 6. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then draw the circle through there, which I know sometimes it's hard to get a circle to look like a circle when you freehand it, but freehand is good enough. Just make sure that your center is accurate and that you have 4 accurate points that you tried to get in the right spot. And if your circle misses a little bit like that, that's fine. If you're using a pencil, you can, that was pretty bad right there. If I was using a pencil, I would probably erase that and try again, but I can't erase this blue pen, so. All right, I'm going to try another example here with number 3. If you think that you get it, I would pause the video and try it on your own. And if you feel like you need more help, then just go ahead and do the problem along with. So the first thing you need to do is get the x's together with a blank, and always start way far over on the left here, because the problems take a lot of space horizontally, and it's likely that you're going to end up going off into the graph. So x squared plus 2x then I'm going to need a blank, and then the y squared, and then the negative 6y, and then a blank, and the blanks will always be pluses, and then equals, if the negative 15 gets added to both sides, then I will have a 15 over here, and then I need to balance the equation by putting in 2 more blanks. Make sure you understand the 15 changed sign because I added 15 to both sides. And then to figure out what goes in this, I need to complete the square for it. So I'm going to draw a diamond, and this is where I think you should grab a piece of scratch paper. So for this problem, the 2x is the term that goes on the bottom. And then to figure out the top, I need to take half of 2x, which is 1x, and then I need to square it, which will give me 1x squared. So to figure out what goes in this blank, I take half of 2 and then square it. And then to figure out what goes in this blank, I put the negative 6y on the bottom. To get the sides, I'll take half, and get the top, I will square it, because negative 3 times negative 3 is the same as negative 3 squared, and so a 9 goes here. So if you didn't want to stop and draw this diamond out, you could take half of negative 6 and square it to get the 9 that goes there. And then remember, whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side of an equation. So I just picked a 1 to add to this side, so I have to add a 1 to this side. And if I add a 9 to this side over here, I also have to add a 9 to this side. All right, so then I'm going to factor x squared plus 2x plus 1 into x squared plus 1x plus 1x plus 1, x parenthesis x plus 1 plus 1 parenthesis x plus 1. And so then I know that this is going to have 2 factors of x plus 1. And this one, can you guess what it's going to be without having to show the steps? I know that it's going to be y minus 3 squared. And I know that because I'm kind of picturing what would happen if I multiplied this out. The y times the y would give me y squared, negative 3 times negative 3 would give me the positive 9, and the negative 3, when I do 2 of them in the middle here, that will give me the negative 6. But if you're not sure about that, just grab a piece of scratch paper and write out your minus 3y plus 9, y times y minus 3 times y minus 3. And wherever you, because it's on scratch paper, wherever you know that, once you know what the answer is going to be, you can stop showing the steps out. And then this, 15 plus 1 plus 9, is 15 plus 10, or 25. And so the circle has a center and a radius. And the center is at negative 1, positive 3. And the radius is 5. So to graph that circle, I will come over to negative 1, positive 3, with a radius of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops. A little bit off the graph, but close enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then draw a circle that goes through those points. So if you were trying to do this problem on your own, I would encourage you to stop and check it on Desmos. And you can do that by typing in the equation of a circle. This was the first example, example number 1, but I'm going to change it to example number 2. So we would have x squared plus y squared, and I'm doing the original equation, plus 2x minus 6y minus 15 equals 0. And then supposedly the center of that circle is at -1, 3, and that looks pretty good. Looks like it matches it just fine. And you could type in your answer, x plus 1 squared plus y minus 3, y minus 3, somehow I'm not getting the parentheses in there, squared equals 25, not 5. And then you can see that the circles are lying right on top of each other there, so I can tell that these two equations are equal because they make the same graph. So when I turn the black circle on and off, you can just see the green circle underneath. So Desmos provides a great way of checking your work. We're running out of time, so I'm not going to do all of example 4 out, but I will give you the answer to it so that you can make sure that you have it right. And the answer that I got was 6, 5 for the center, and the radius is equal to 2. All right, I encourage you to make sure that you learn this. I'd say it's the trickiest part of the chapter, and it's a great review of algebra skills. So good luck.